Well, Hillary Clinton has been in the national spotlight for nearly 25 years. But as voters express growing interest in candidates who are outside of the Washington establishment, Clinton went on Face the Nation yesterday, and she's arguing that in a way, she too is an outsider. Take a look and see what you think.
In the politics this year, it looks like everybody wants an outsider. That's, now that puts you in a fix.
I don't think, Don,
doesn't put you in a fix. Tell us why it doesn't put you in a fix.
I cannot imagine anyone being more of an outsider than the first woman president.
Give us 3 words that is the real Hillary Clinton. Just 3.
Just 3. I can't possibly do that. I mean, look, I am a real person with all the pluses and minuses that go along with being that. And I've been in the public eye for so long that I think, it's like the feature that you see in some magazines sometimes. Real people actually go shopping,
Meanwhile, a new poll finds Carly Fiorina is making some very solid gains among the Republican candidates. So is Clinton concerned? Karl Rove is former Deputy Chief of Staff to President George W. Bush and a Fox News contributor. Karl, good morning to you. Good to see you this morning.
Morning, Martha.
A lot of laughing, a lot of sitting back, chatting about herself as, really the consummate outsider because she's a woman in this race. What do you make of all that?
Well, you're right. It was a lot of laughing, but it was a lot of weird laughing. It seemed forced. They'd gone out and said she's going to show some spontaneous humor. Well, I think the memo to her yesterday in advance of the interview with John Dickerson was go out and show spontaneous humor by laughing, and it came across badly, I thought. It just very strange. This outsider issue, I look at it from 2 different ways. First of all, if you take a look at, we don't have a lot of evidence of this, but if what evidence we do have is that Democrats are thinking differently about this election than are Republicans in particular, and even somewhat independents. That is to say, if you ask a Democrat, do you want to have experience or somebody from outside the existing political establishment, which was one of the questions asked last week, I think, by ABC Washington Post, Democrats are 56% somebody with experience, 40% somebody outside the existing establishment. Why she accepted the premise is beyond me. She should have said, look, I'll tell you what I hear. I hear people want a president who will do the following things and describe what she would do. Instead, she accepted the premise and then tried to say, I am an outsider. When it's hard to. And the other thing is, look, she's running against right now, her principal opponent has been in elective office since 1981, Bernie Sanders. And if you look at Joe Biden, he was elected to office in what, 1972. Again, it just was a sort of an odd response to it. I would have gone a different direction in opening the question, but even more disturbing than the answer were those incredibly bizarre fits of laughter, which seemed incredibly forced and, as a result, very inauthentic.
She's moved up a little bit in the recent polls, and some people think that her new sort of manner and trying to be a little bit more personable may be one of the reasons that's helping her. Time will tell on that one. Let's switch over to the Republican side and the race for that nomination. Let's take a look at these new polls because I want to get your thoughts. This is really the first take that we have post-debate, and boy, was it a good night for Carly Fiorina. She is now launched, at least in this read, to 15%, and Trump, his numbers have backed off a little bit. I want to get your take on whether or not you think we're starting to see a changing dynamic here.
Look, first of all, let's compare the CNN poll that you talked about to the last CNN poll. There was a CNN poll that was on the 8th, and there was one on the 17th. Now, we got to be careful because this is one poll, and we got to be careful about putting too much into one poll. I want to see if this trend holds up, in all fairness to all of the competitors. But Donald Trump, in the course of a week, loses 8 points. Carly Fiorina gains 12. Ben Carson goes from 19 to 14. He loses 5, basically 1 out of every 4 people who supports him. The other winner was Marco Rubio, who went from 3 to 11. Jeb Bush was unchanged. Ted Cruz picked up 1. Everybody else stayed the same or lost and were lower. They were 5 points or lower. So these are essentially the 6 people who benefited or at least held their own in the debate. And you're right, Carly Fiorina and also Marco Rubio, which says something. Everybody thought Marco Rubio had a good first debate, but there was no real movement in the polls. Everybody thought Carly Fiorina had a first good debate, though she was in the junior debate that only had about a quarter of the viewers of the people who watched the main event on Fox. But both of them benefited mightily. This may be a sign that in this election, cumulative impressions matter. That what matters is not just simply one episode. The second debate was a big inflection point, but what helped Carly Fiorina was she had done well in the first debate, there'd been good buzz, and then she built on it with a terrific performance in the second
I got to
debate.
go, but I want to get one very quick thought from you on Bush and Christie, because both of them, you know, the talk after the debate was that they did a good job, and it really made no difference for either one of them.
Well, again, it's a process of cumulative impressions. I think both of them did do a good job. I think Christie, frankly, was the most improved from the first debate to the second.
But they've got to be disappointed when they look at those numbers, Karl.
Well, they would certainly like to have numbers that show them up, but at least they don't show what the rest of the field is enjoying, which is numbers going down. And again, it's a cumulative process, and it's one poll. So let's see what happens. But if I were them, I'd be happy that at least I wasn't going down and that I'd stabilize. Because before you can start to go up, you got to stabilize.
And once you get up there, like Carly Fiorina, you're going to get hit much harder in interviews. As we saw, she got grilled by Chris Wallace about her record at HP over the weekend, and that's going to continue to be a theme in the questions for her, no doubt. Karl, thank you very much. Good to see you this morning.